Paulo Costa versus Jared Cannonier has now been announced as official for the main event of a UFC Fight Night on August the 21st, and I can't wait for this middleweight bout. It's the second middleweight bout that's been announced recently, along with Darren Till versus Derek Brunson. Now we're matchmaking Paulo Costa and Jared Cannonier. In my opinion, this is the perfect fight to make for both of these gentlemen inside the middleweight division. If I was the matchmaker of the UFC, I would look at the rankings and immediately match these two up together. Two guys inside the top four. Number 2, Paulo Costa, with, I believe, number 4, Jared Cannonier. Both coming off losses. You've got Jared Cannonier coming off a loss to Robert Whittaker in the co-main event of UFC 254, Khabib versus Gaethje. You've got Paulo Costa coming off his horrific loss to Israel Adesanya that was very, very embarrassing for his career not too long ago as well. Now they're fighting each other. Winner stays on. Loser really slips down those rankings and probably has to take on like the winner of Shabazian versus Hermansson or something like that. The winner of this bout is going to be in a real good position, and I kind of see this with the way that this and Darren Till versus Derek Brunson has been scheduled around the same time frame in August. I think I just view this as like a semi-final tournament in the making. Paulo Costa versus Jared Cannonier. Darren Till versus Derek Brunson. Winners of each take on each other. Winners of that one fight for the belt. Makes all the sense in the world. Let's get into my prediction. Now, the fact that this is the main event of a fight night means absolutely everything to my prediction. If this was a 3-round fight, I reckon I would pick Paulo Costa to win by 29-28 unanimous decision. I don't think Cannonier would finish him inside the first 3 rounds, and I think Paulo Costa would be able to fight as himself effectively in the first 2 rounds of a 3-round bout and win himself a fight 29-28 against Jared Cannonier. But this is not a 3-round fight because Paulo Costa's management team don't know a thing about the sport or their fighter and are basically getting paid to ruin Paulo Costa's career the same way they ruined Tony Ferguson's career. Tony Ferguson needs 5 rounds. His management constantly books in 3-rounders. Paulo Costa needs 3 rounds. They keep booking in 5-rounders. Why would he take the main event slot? I have no idea. Paulo Costa can go 5 rounds. I'm very aware of this. He probably could jab and feint with someone for 5 rounds and make it to the distance of the fight without looking too gassed. In order for Paulo Costa to be effective in the MMA cage, he needs to beat you like he is Michael Chiesa and you've said something about his mum. Honestly, he needs to go out there and just beat the living shit out of you. If he wants to be successful inside an MMA cage, put the pressure on early, empty it all out, non-stop pressure, exactly the same thing he did against Uriah Hall and all of his opponents before then, in Johnny Hendricks and Oluwale Bangbos and other guys like that. He needs to go after you non-stop, start to finish, wear you down, break you down, eventually finish you in any way he possibly can. He cannot implement that style in a 5-round fight because he will worry about reaching those later rounds after emptying out the gas tank trying to finish Jared Cannonier, and that, I believe, will lead him to gas out, and he will fail and he won't empty out the gas tank the way he needs to in those early rounds. If this was a 3-round fight, I reckon Paulo Costa could do what Kutalaba did, but win those first 2 rounds and secure those first 2 rounds before eventually gassing in the third, but just somehow surviving against Jared Cannonier. I think in a 3-rounder he would win. In a 5-rounder, I'm going to be picking Jared Cannonier by TKO in the 4th round. And man, let me just say this before I get into this, man. It's fucking Paulo Costa, man. In a 3-rounder, I swear he whoops Jared Cannonier in those first 2 rounds. I reckon he whoops a lot of people in this division for 3 rounds. If he gets a 3-round bout against these guys, he will walk them down and beat the shit out of them. People disrespect Paulo Costa because of the way he lost to Israel Adesanya. Because, listen, man, the guy had a couple of drinks, a couple of dance moves. You know, there was a little party going on in the hotel room before the Israel Adesanya fight. A sober Costa wins that fight 9 out of 10 times. Either way, we're not even going to get into it. I'm joking, he doesn't. But either way, you know the memes. Okay? In a 3-rounder, this is still the man that walked down Yoel Romero and went blow for blow with him. Saluting, mocking Romero, like Israel Adesanya stood on the outside, arguably lost to Romero in a lot of people's eyes, in all honesty. I thought he won against Romero rounds 2, 3, and 4, but there's an argument in round 2, I'll tell you that much for sure. Stood on the outside, chopped at the legs of Yoel Romero, did not engage whatsoever. Paulo Costa, despite being humped in the cage by another man at UFC 253, is a man who walked into Romero, put his hands behind his back in the middle of a fight with Yoel Romero, walked forward, saluted, then banged Yoel Romero in the face. Like, Paulo Costa is an absolute savage. His cardio is not a savage, and I think that Jared Cannonier will finish him in the 4th round of this bout. This is shit matchmaking by his management. If this was the feature fight of a pay-per-view coming up, which it very well could have been, it so easily could have been on that September pay-per-view, on the August pay-per-view that's coming up soon. Put it on the August pay-per-view. Ngannou versus Derek Lewis 2 as the main event. Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman 2, or Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington 2 in the co-main event. People are going to fucking have a problem with that because I said Colby's name first. Either way, those 2 as the main and co-main event. Jared Cannonier versus Paulo Costa in the feature fight. You don't need the rest of the card. I will watch, I will tune in, I won't buy it because I'm smart, but either way, I'll tune in and be interested by that card. Why book this as a 5-rounder? I have no idea. I think both guys are very good. I'm looking at some stats right now that aren't telling me it's going to be good for Paulo Costa. Although we keep forgetting, he is 6'1". He has a 72-inch reach. I think Alexander Volkanovski is around those levels. You know what I mean? He's 6'1". Jared Cannonier is 5'11" with a 77.5-inch reach. Okay? That's going to be an interesting thing when you've got 2 guys who hit as hard as these 2 do, and Paulo Costa's got to try and find his way on the inside. Jared Cannonier is basically an anti-soy Uriah Hall. In my opinion, he's basically a testosterone-fueled Uriah Hall. A Uriah Hall with pebbles that he collects from the fucking beach that give him those special powers of testosterone. Like Jared Cannonier, I think is going to win this fight. I think the way he was able to bounce back against Robert Whittaker in that 3rd round, that just shows me so much high-level MMA. And then you got to look at the leg kicks that he employed against Robert Whittaker. Like, Paulo Costa had a problem with the leg kicks against Israel Adesanya, and some of the legs have been chopped down before in his career, but either way, I think Cannonier's going to go out there, stick a jab in his face like Uriah Hall did, which he was doing with Whittaker now and again. I know Whittaker was maybe out jabbing him, but that's Robert Whittaker, he has an amazing jab. Jared Cannonier is very capable of following a game plan, sticking a jab out there, chopping at the legs, wearing an opponent down in the first few rounds, and I don't think Paulo Costa is going to be willing to go out there and empty out in the early rounds against Jared Cannonier because he could get KO'd. And Cannonier's got way longer arms, and he also has maybe more KO power than Paulo Costa because arguably Paulo Costa does not have ridiculous KO power. In all honesty, like the amount of shots that he hits people with. I know he dropped Yoel Romero. He does have power in his hands. It's just a volume thing with Paulo Costa. He's got to break you down. You've got to show some sign of mental fatigue, like you're really not liking being beaten up this much, and then eventually you'll succumb to the volume of Paulo Costa. Jared Cannonier can lights out Costa with one punch. I don't think Costa can do that to Jared Cannonier. Very good fights. Jared Cannonier showing that he can come back in the 3rd round against Robert Whittaker is a huge deal to me. He got rocked in that 3rd round so badly and was all over the place after that head kick. Like, just didn't even know where he was. It looked like he was looking for a contact lens on the canvas for a second, all honesty. Really bad position. Got his back taken, reversed out of it with a broken arm in that 3rd round. 3rd round, broken arm, gets head kicked. Fights out of his back being taken, turns it round, gets back up, rocks Whittaker in the 3rd round, starts pouring it on Whittaker. I don't think Costa would have that energy in a 3rd round of a fight. I know he's going to make some changes, I'm sure. I just don't think he can make the changes. I think in a 3-round... Just book him 3-rounders, tell him to go autistic, and like... I don't even know what to do. Just convince him with some kind of fucking hypnotherapy that the guy has taken money from him. Like, just beat the living shit out of them in a 3-round fight. That's what Paulo Costa needs to do. I don't think he can cope in a 5-rounder. The pace is different. The technique required is a little bit different. The composure required is a little bit different. Maybe he was drunk in the Israel Adesanya fight, but like... I'm not willing to bet on that when I'm putting my prediction on the line. I reckon I'll go with Jared Cannonier here, in all honesty. The building as the fight went on. He's got great cardio. We even saw that in the Ion Cutelaba fight as well. Not just a Whittaker fight. In the 3rd round of the Cutelaba fight. Upper weight class, by the way. Which is naturally going to be harder for Jared Cannonier to go as long as he did. Upper weight class, he's walking down Ion Cutelaba with his hands by his waist. Just picking at him the entire 3rd round. With all the cardio in the world. Guy's got great conditioning. He's going to beat Paulo Costa. But I swear to God, man, stop disrespecting Paulo Costa. This is going to be chaos for about 2 rounds. Then it'll start going a bit iffy for Costa in the third. Then I think Jared Cannonier is going to finish him with like a body shot against the cage or something like that. I can really see Paulo Costa getting finished to a body shot. And I was going to pick that to happen to him when he fought Robert Whittaker as well. I think I'm going to go with that against Jared Cannonier. I think he's going to get beaten up against the cage, try that stuff where he shells up and like mocks you for not finishing him, and then Cannonier's going to go to the body and Costa's going to sink down and get TKO'd. And it's going to be tough for his career. But it's just poor management, man. If he was fighting a 3-rounder against Cannonier, man, it's a different story. Just such stupid management. Costa. Honestly, yeah, you know what I've decided? I reckon eventually I'm going to get into the MMA management game. So Paulo Costa and any other future fighter, these motherfuckers don't know what they're doing with you. They just don't know what they're fucking doing with their fighters. Every single management move I see other than Ali Abdulaziz's, and as much as I dislike him for him taking over the entire fucking sport, he's doing something right with his fighters. No other management team seems to make correct decisions for their fighters whatsoever. It's like they're managers of sporting agents, and they're just turning over to MMA and taking in an MMA fighter. You need, right now, and I'm giving a little bit of an outreach to you here, Paulo Costa. You need, okay, an MMA hardcore fan like myself that knows it all, that knows what you're good at and what you're not good at, to tell you what your moves need to be, okay? I'm here for advice. Leave a comment below, Paulo, and I'll give you some advice on maybe rescheduling this one to a 3-rounder. He's a savage, man, and it's a wasted career by making these decisions, in all honesty. He actually could really... I reckon he could beat Darren Till in a 3-rounder. Derek Brunson fucking piss easy in a 5-rounder, I reckon, for Paulo Costa. I know he got humped in a cage, but I swear he's still that guy. He's still that boy. You know what I mean? He's very, very good. It's just this ain't good for him, man. Winner of this one takes on the winner of Darren Till versus a Derek Brunson. Which I think is ultimate sense. If Darren Till wins, you've got a good matchup there. If Paulo Costa wins, you can do a little bit of a Portuguese session between the pair of them. That would be good trash talking. It'd be nice to see him and Darren Till engage with each other in Portuguese. Maybe hear a little bit more of Paulo Costa's personality in Portuguese rather than broken English. Other than that, Jared Cannonier is probably going to win this one. I think Darren Till's probably going to beat Derek Brunson. And you're going to be looking at Darren Till versus Jared Cannonier. The two guys that Israel Adesanya called out to fight, taking on each other. The promo's already there. The winner of that one will take on whoever has the belt come that time anyway. What a shame. Like and subscribe. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. The loser of this one, if it's Jared Cannonier, he's now 37 years of age, just turned. Like, if he loses this one and does get TKO'd, which likely will be the way that he loses if he does, it's probably not going to be too good for him as his fighting future, because he'll have been chinned a couple of times. He's got his arm broken. He's an older guy. He kind of got into the game a little bit late anyway. Might be a little bit tough for him. If Paulo Costa loses, never fear, there's always a chance to rebound, and I think he could maybe rebound against the winner of Shabazian versus Hermansson, or maybe even the loser of Till versus Brunson, if it's like Brunson or something. If it's Darren Till, I think Darren Till's going to start having to look down the rankings. If it's Derek Brunson that loses to Darren Till, Paulo Costa, Derek Brunson, it makes all the sense in the world. These fucking managers, man. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. No more 5-rounders for Costa.